thanks so much. I'm super excited to be here today. Did we get speakers? Yeah. Okay, well, you guys are just going to have to, it's funny because there's a moment in the talk where it's like driven by sound, and it's supposed to be like ruckus, big music. So during that moment, I want you to listen very carefully. We'll just play it off of you. So this is kind of a repeat of the talk that I just gave a month ago at Mix. Who's seen that talk, either the video or is anybody there? Person. So enough of us that it's sort of embarrassing if I use the same jokes, I guess. I actually don't want this to go down exactly the same way as the talk. Instead, what I was hoping we could do today is use the slides and the content from the talk as kind of a way to provoke a conversation among all of us. Whenever I've been to the group, one of my favorite things that happens here is that we end up having a really great conversation, and we all are able to input, or to provide input, and share our thoughts that way. So I would very much like it if you guys would interrupt me, and if you had comments, if you'd raise your hand. And in fact, at certain points, I'll make a point of asking you for comments. And then there's also large chunks of this that I'm going to skip, simply because you could go and watch this. If I were to give exactly the same talk, you could have done that from the comfort of your own living room, watching, because I have videos from Mix Online. So we'll just kind of use this as maybe an outline for a way to have an interesting conversation about design. So I'll start with an intro, though. Actually, let me ask you this. Who here would consider themselves a designer already? What about, now we'll get a little more specific. What about, who here is an interaction designer versus a visual designer? Okay, so visual design, like Photoshop dudes? Okay, pretty good. Next. Well, who here is not really a designer at all? More technical. Well, it's nice that you guys know yourselves. Is there anybody else who didn't fall into any of those categories, or would be both, or all of the above? Both. Okay.
Where would an integrator fall into that?
I don't know, man. That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I'd probably say you'd be the both, right? Yeah. Some of both. That's fair. That's fair. So I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about how I got to where I am today. Which is, I guess, kind of both, I'd say. So I started off with, I started pursuing design, actually, when I was in school. I wanted to be an architect. So I went to design school for about a year and a half. All the while, though, I was making money on the side writing code. So I realized about a year and a half, actually, into the design program, that while design was fun, it wasn't going to pay the bills as well as writing code, clearly. And so I abandoned my design degree and went into computer science. But I had sort of this passion for design, right? So I finished up my degree. I went and I worked at Microsoft, and I was at Microsoft for about 5 years. And after that 5-year period of just kind of being a coder or being very technical, as actually a program manager at Microsoft, I came to this realization that I felt like there was something missing in my life, and that this thing that I had loved so much, this design sort of aspect of my personality, kind of felt neglected. And so I started moving back into design. But there had been this huge paradigm shift in those 7 or 8 years in terms of how design worked, and I'd forgotten a whole bunch of stuff. And so at that moment in my career, I kind of felt like I was doing this thing where I was starting from scratch. And so I wanted today to have a conversation with you. Oh, here it is. That's the music. About 10 things that I wish younger me had known about design, about the design process. So this is 10 ways to attack a design problem and win, right? And that's why we have the awesome music, which, if you listen very carefully, will get you pumped up. Okay.
And everyone from the 80s.
Yeah, everyone from the 80s. So this is younger me. This is the me to whom this message is directed. Not actually younger me, though. Although I made this my Facebook photo. And everybody thinks it's really me, even people who knew me. So I'm like, you guys knew me. Definitely did not look like that, but maybe at least I didn't think I did. So we're going to talk about these 10 ways to attack a design problem, and then if we have time, we can do so in the context of 3 different applications. We'll get there if that's the thing we'll cut, if we can have a better conversation about this. Just out of curiosity, has anybody else made this transition where they've gone from some, maybe more of a technical discipline to more of a creative discipline? Or is anybody in the process of doing that or aspires to do that? Yeah? How's that gone for you guys? Anybody?
It's hard sometimes.
It's hard? Yeah. Well, that was where I started, right? Like, that was kind of my first point, is that it can be hard. And I think it is kind of hard. Design's like a lot harder looking thing than it may come off. What else? Anybody else want to answer that?
So there's a lot of strange middle ground
Yeah.
as to which way to go, what to use as guide.
And that's a great point, Rob, because we're actually also at a time where there's this like massive convergence between those disciplines, and so I actually think that's I started off by asking that question, but it's kind of an artificial question in a way, right? Because we all know that if you are responsible at all for kind of this thing that we're all doing, which is user experience, that you are automatically wearing a little bit of both hats, whether you're a designer or a developer. You're a designer, thinking about the technical constraints of what it is you're doing, or you're a developer thinking about
Yes!
Well, now we're glad the speaker's over here. We'll just
We're pumped up now.
okay. So I wanted to kind of go through these different rules, for lack of a better word. I think I called them attack moves earlier, and talk about how we can use these. And what I would really hope is that as I share some examples of why I think these are my top 10 things that I wish I had known. That maybe if they resonate with you, you can share other ideas for how these might apply, or times when this has been the right thing for you. Okay. So definitely feel free to participate and make this kind of a forum, not just me talking at you. Okay. So first design attack move. Number 1 is find inspiration. So tell you a story about this. So maybe the pivotal moment for me when I was at Microsoft, when I realized that this thing had been missing from my experience, came after I attended a conference. I was on the WPF team at Microsoft, and we realized that we wanted to be talking to designers. And at the time, interaction designers were very focused on Flash, primarily, in terms of technology. So we started going to Flash conferences. And I went to this awesome conference called Flash in the Can. Has anybody been there? It's awesome, if you get a chance to go there. In fact, they're doing it in San Francisco this year. Normally it's in Toronto, but this year you could go, if without having to go to Canada. Which isn't bad, it's just fine. So Flash in the Can was this amazing experience for me, and I went there, and I don't know, something happened, and I felt like I was exposed to sort of this new way of looking at the world again, I should say, is maybe the right way to think about it. And that's what I want to share about finding inspiration. Something that very few people know about me, it actually just was brought to light at home because my son expressed interest in this, is that I know a little bit of karate. And I know a little bit of karate because I studied under the best sensei at our community college for about 4 weeks when I was 7. So I know about this much karate. But the thing I do know from those 4 weeks in karate is that karate is something that comes from within. And I think that great design will take a lesson from that, because I think great design also needs to come from within. And so one of the first things that you need to do if you want to become a great designer is you need to be inspired. When I was coming home from that conference, I was sat there on the plane, and I'd been like so taken by all the stuff that I had seen that I wanted to create something. And I had this feeling like sort of this creative energy, right? And I wanted to build something, and I started writing down in a little notebook that I had ideas of something I could go home and create. And I just came up with pages and pages of things. And I remember looking at that and thinking, man, I've got so many ideas, so many thoughts about what I could build. And that, I think, is sort of the key. That's where you want to get to in order to produce great design. You need to kind of have that moment of inspiration. And unfortunately, we can't all go to design conferences all the time. And also, it's really hard, honestly, as a designer, to get to that where you have that sort of beginner's mind about design, to where everything feels fresh and new. But the thing that you can do, and I think this is a great quote, is that you can constantly be looking for those things which inspire you. This is this awesome quote from Frank Chimero. Do you guys know who he is? I don't know if you call him an illustrator or a designer. He's maybe kind of in between. But look him up because super, super cool guy. Really neat style. You'll actually recognize a lot of what he does. But Frank had this great thing to say. He said, passion is the currency of creativity. So if you want to feel creative, if you want to be creative, it starts by finding that thing within you, that passion for what it is that you're doing. And I think that comes when you begin to live like a designer. Like you begin to see the world through the designer's eye, right? And so as you begin to interact with the world, all of a sudden you begin to, I don't know, see shapes differently and feel colors and see things, and all of a sudden everything sort of becomes a source of inspiration for you. And then the great thing about this is this: the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. when you can find that moment of inspiration or that feeling of inspiration and see the world that way, I think that's the thing that grows within you and makes you a great designer. So I just jotted down some ideas about where you can find design. So places where you could look if you're trying to create that passion. These you can just read through these. I won't actually read all of them to you. There's a good one in here though. Oh, objects and textures in bottom drawer. We collect these. We have these drawers called our junk drawers, and Anna and I. This is my wife, by the way, in the back. This is my wife, Anna, and she's carrying Jane, our 6-month-old daughter. So Anna and I each have one of these little boxes, and then the kids have this drawer where we kind of put stuff that doesn't have a place. You might have something like this too in your house. This is a great place to go find inspiration and just start digging through there. There's textures, like crazy looking things. If you're looking for, something to kind of spark the imagination. iPhone apps is another really great one for some reason. It seems like there's a lot of really creative thinking going into that right now. This is a great excuse to buy an iPad, by the way. If you're looking forward, go buy an iPad and be inspired. One of the Actually, let me just. This is a great time to ask a question. Where do you guys find inspiration? And does this resonate with you? Do you feel like inspiration is, or passion is the currency of design? Does that make sense to you? Do you guys agree? Where do you guys go for inspiration?
I saw the school site called Pixel Labs. It was
Oh yeah.
Only one lab.
Yeah, I go there for inspiration as well.
Yeah.
Go check out DeviantArt.
That's a great one. Yeah, DeviantArt's a great site.
I think I get a lot of inspiration out of preschools, kindergarten classes, if you can get into some just groups of kids.
Totally.
Kids are so wide open.
Like the off the wall thinking. There's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old too, and they say the craziest, the darndest things.
You people with masks and musical instruments, and all of a sudden, the whole world opens up.
You know, a really practical point about that too is that they don't have any preconceptions about interaction, and so a lot of times if you're trying to find an interesting way to interact, like just today I was my kid wanted to learn how to close a window, and I said just look for the X, and that was like totally new to him that an X would be, So I guess I don't know. That's a good thing to know is that some people maybe don't have that background, but on the other hand, like they kind of have this fresh mind or the beginner's mind, as we say.
Let's go around looking at doors in the top corner for an X.
Yeah.
Smashing Magazine.
Smashing Magazine is an excellent story.
Yeah.
So there are, actually that'd be a great blog post from somebody. There's a huge collection of. So Patter Tap is another great one. Desire to Inspire is another great one. What's that?
Swiss Miss.
Swiss Miss, awesome. Yep. Swiss Miss is that. That's actually. Do you guys know that blog? She just kind of
came out
posts.
of nowhere.
Yeah. And she just kind of posts everything kind of crazy and interesting. Fave Up is another great site. There's a lot of really. So that'd be a good blog post.
Yeah, there's a site she is affiliated with where she does some curating.
She goes, I love typography, or we love typography.